Hey, what's up? Ken from Palm Beach Dyno here. We've got a KR on the dyno. For those of you guys that don't know, these are built by Shelby America. They come with a Whipple setup. This one's a wide body. Let's take a closer look at it. First thing we're going to do is baseline the car, see what kind of power it makes as is. Then we're going to install a set of Kooks Long Tube Headers with high flow catalytic converters, and of course a custom Palm Beach Dyno tune, and see how much power we can squeeze out of this thing. We're sticking with stock injectors, so we'll see the limits of those. So let's see what it does on the stock setup.
A few moments later.
All right, the guys got it all done at the shop. We're getting ready to load up our tune, see what kind of power it makes, and then of course we're going to do some fine tuning. I'm going to show you all those pulls, and then we'll go over the before and after dyno graph. We'll explain to you guys how we picked up power and where we picked up power, what we're thinking on setting a car like this up, and again, we're going to see the limit of the stock injectors. Alright, time to go over the numbers. One thing to remember, since this is a wide body car, it has a larger, wider wheel that's heavier, of course, has a 335 tire, so they never really dyno quite as well as a regular GT500. Now, of course, the engine is making the same horsepower, just the dyno is going to read it a little bit differently, so that's why we always do a baseline. So in this case, it made 737 and 581 torque. Now, that's a little disappointing to most people and not bad. It's a good number, but of course we could do much better. One of the things to keep in mind is Shelby uses the factory rev limiter, so we're only spinning it up to 7,500 RPM. Now, in addition to the tune, we also did Kooks Long Tube Headers with their cats. That is a great modification for any GT500. Some people wonder, you know, should I do long tubes or not? The nice thing about this setup is it does move the cat further away from the heads, so you know it's not subject to quite as much heat, and you might have a better chance at having the cats live a long life. So with our very first tune setup, pulled all the way up to max RPM, we got it up to 816 and 582. Now, one other thing to remember is we are spinning it at a higher RPM, which gives us the advantage because obviously the power just keeps going. You know, a lot of companies might just post these numbers, show you these max power numbers and go, wow, we picked up, you know, over 80 horsepower, which is true, peak, but the peak is higher with our tune because we raised the rev limiter. So if you want to just evaluate the gains in a more fair way, we have to look at the same spot in the graph at 7,500. But I do want to show you the final number first before we look at that, because we did make some changes beyond this tune and got to cool off. The red line was cooled, the baseline, because we only did one pull. But once the car got on the dyno with our tune, we did multiple tunes, so a car is always going to pick up power if you let it sit for a little bit and cool back down. So as for a fair comparison, we did that as well. So the final number is right here, 849 and 610. So let's look a little bit closer at those numbers and see what they were at a fair measuring spot, which is going to be right at 7,500. It went from 733 to 805. So we're talking, you know, over 70 horsepower right at that spot, which is phenomenal. Obviously, if I would have redone it, you know, we're already done with it. Maybe it would have been cool to see what it did with just the headers and not the tune. But we're Palm Beach Dyno. We pretty much tune everything that comes out of here, unless it's a newer 24 that we can't tune. So this is, you know, going to speak to our customers. I would guess that the headers are worth a good 15 or 20 horsepower at that spot, maybe more. So the tune was worth quite a bit. Now, not only is it making more power at that same spot, but you can look at the shape of the curve. Right here on the Shelby tune, it dips really hard right there. And again right here, and then, you know, carries out. Ours is a much smoother, nicer line. Now, one thing people might bring up in this case is catalytic converter protection. This is still with cat protection turned on, which you absolutely need. Some tuners might turn that off. What catalytic converter protection is it enriches the mixture so as to protect the catalytic converters, and you have to do that. Now, you could turn it off just for a glory pull, and then, you know, you'll make more power because the car is not extra rich for that cooling effect. But we're not here to sell you something we can't duplicate for you remotely. So this is exactly what you would get from us in the same situation. Now, don't forget, even though this is a Shelby GT500KR, this would apply to a normal GT500 with a Whipple setup. Again, your car might baseline a little bit higher if it's not a wide body, which of course most of them are not. But in general, the gains are going to be similar. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please share it with your friends, like it, and we'll see you on the next one.